What do you imagine when you hear the word iPhone? What thoughts go through your mind when you picture the iPhone? What's up everyone, Raphael here, AppleAddress, addressing all things Apple Inc. Let's address the iPhone. To answer my question, I imagine the next iPhone to be minimal upgrade if you base the assumptions on past Apple iPhone release history. Let's reflect on the 14-year history of the iPhone. During the Macworld event in January 2007, Steve Jobs shared with the world what they've been working on, the first touchscreen phone that included an MP3 player and web browser. The phone was later released in June 2007. When I first laid eyes on this thing and listened to Steve talk about the device, I honestly thought, wow, the future is approaching. What's going to be next? The phone will allow us to have so much access to everything, and it will fit in your pocket, which was a crazy idea, crazy thought. Speaking of pockets, the form factor of the iPhone has changed throughout the years. Let's take a quick dive into the 14-year history of the iPhone. Okay, so the original iPhone was released June 29, 2007. The display size was 320 by 480 pixels, and it had the TFT touchscreen. The camera, 2 megapixel camera, right? Imagine that, 2 megapixels. The memory was 128 megabytes of EDRAM. The processor was, believe it or not, made by Samsung, 32-bit. Now the sensors at that time, accelerometer, proximity sensor, and that was it. But what's interesting is the key iOS features back then, right? iOS, well, they didn't even call it iOS, I don't think. It was just OS. It was OS 1.0 to 1.1 during the duration of this, the new iPhone. You had the iPod integration, you had iTunes, Wi-Fi music store, and you had the mobile Safari web browser, Google Maps, and you had the multi-touch keyboard, which was very huge. Next, you had the iPhone 3G. That was released July 11, 2008. There were no changes to the hardware. Key iOS features: OS 2.0 to 2.2. You had the App Store, you had third-party apps, GPS navigation was added, you had Microsoft Exchange support was added to that, then you had calculator. Had to add the calculator to that. And then Mobile Me, if you guys remember the Mobile Me suite. Next, the following year, June 19th, 2009, you had the iPhone 3GS. No change to the display technology. There was a change in the camera. You had a 3 megapixel 480p video. Memory, 256 megabytes of RAM. Processor, 600 megahertz ARM chip. Sensors, they added the compass to the sensors. The key iOS or key OS features at that time, 3.0 to 3.2. You had the camcorder, you had the MMS capabilities, you had spotlight search, you had voice control, and you had cut, copy, and paste, which was big when that was released. Next, you had the iPhone 4, which was released June 21, 2010. And I think this is when I first bought the iPhone. Display technology, 3.5 inch screen, 640 by 960 pixels, I think, and then LED backlit. Camera, 5 megapixel cameras. You had 72p video capability. The memory was upgraded, 512 megabytes of RAM. Processor, you had the A4 chip, which was new. This was big. This is when Apple started going into their own. Then the sensors, you had the gyro was added. Key iOS features at that time was OS 4.0 to 4.3. You had FaceTime, HD recording, multitasking, folders, Game Center. Fast forward, October 14th, 2011, iPhone 4S. Same display technology. There was an increase in the camera pixels, 8 megapixels, 1080p video capture. You had same memory. You had the introduction of the A5 chip, same sensors. The key OS features at that time, iOS, it was OS 5.0 to 5.1. Siri was introduced. Then you had messages, iCloud, iTunes Wi-Fi sync, and then newsstand. Next up, iPhone 5, September 21st, 2012. Display technology change, 4.0 inch screen. You had 640 by 1136 pixels LED panel. The same 8 megapixel camera as the previous model, 1080p. Then you had 1 gigabyte of memory was increased. Then you had the Apple A6 processor, new processor. Then same sensors. Then you had the key iOS. This is when I think they started calling the software iOS. You had iOS 6.0 to 6.1. You had Apple Maps, which at that time was horrible. Then you had Passbook. I don't remember Passbook, but anyway. 3G LTE FaceTime, panoramic photos, photo sharing. Next up, you had the iPhone 5C, 5S, September 20th, 2013. Same display, same camera, same memory. The A7 chip was introduced, but the big feature in this phone and in the iOS software was the fingerprint reader. You had Touch ID. AirDrop was huge. AirDrop is still huge till this day. Control center, upgrades to multitasking, FaceTime audio. Now, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, September 19th, 2014. Display technology changed again, 4.7 inch, 750 by 1334 pixels, LED backlit. You had same camera technology as previous model, same memory, A8 chip processor. The new sensor that was released at this time was the barometer sensor. And the key iOS features, iOS 8.0 to 8.4, Apple Pay, which is still huge today. You had the Health app was introduced, family sharing, cloud, the iCloud drive, and continuity. iOS 6S, 6S Plus, September 25th, 2015, same display technology. Cameras, 12 megapixel cameras, 2160p, 5 megapixel, 1080 was the front facing camera, if I believe. Then the memory, 2 gigabytes of RAM. You had the Apple A8 chip was introduced, same sensors. The key iOS features for this release, iOS 9.0 to 9.3, still had all of the same features as before, but they added 3D touch, which I kind of missed. 3D touch was useful. Night shift. CarPlay is big for some people. I don't have that luxury at the moment, but CarPlay is awesome. Low power mode. Improvements to the Notes app. Those were the big features at that time. Now, moving forward, iPhone SE 7 Plus. This was March 31st, 2016. You had the SE was released, And then later, September 16th, 2016, you had the 7 models. Same display technology in the 7 models. You had new 7 megapixel camera, 1080p front facing camera. No change in the memory, same memory. Processor was the A10 Fusion. This is when they started getting into the names of the different A model chips, Apple Silicon chips. Same sensors as before. The key iOS features, it was iOS 10.0 to 10.3. You had Apple Maps, which was a welcome change to Maps. They had worked on it. It was a little better. Delete built-in apps. Home app was introduced. You had the Messages app. And then improved lock screen features. Now, the big change, which kind of brings us into what we're seeing now with our iPhones, you had the iPhone 10, 8, 8 Plus. Now, the 8 and the 8 Plus, those were released September 22nd, 2017. And then November 3rd, 2017 is when the iPhone 10 was released. Now, the 10, let's focus on the 10. The 10 had the 5.8 screen size, 1124 by 2436 pixels, Super AMOLED. Yes, Super AMOLED technology. Cameras were all upgraded, 12 megapixels, 21 by 60, and then 7 megapixel 1080 for the front. Then you had memory was 3 gigabytes of RAM. The chip was the A11 Bionic. Then you had the new Face ID was the big feature. That was the big sensor that was put in the infamous notch that we still kind of have today. Key iOS features at that time, iOS 11 to 11.4, you had the Siri translations, you had photo compression, you had the Files app, you had Face ID because you had the new sensor, and then Animoji. Then we moved to the iPhone XS, XS Max, and the XR. So September 21, 2018, you had the XS and the Max. And then October 26, 2018 is when Apple released the XR, the cheaper model of the 10 series. Now the display size, XS Max, which was the largest, was the 6.5. It was, let's see, 12 by 42 by 2688 pixels, Super AMOLED. Cameras were kind of the same, but no, they were upgraded. They had the 12 megapixel 21 by 60, and then 7 megapixel 1080p for the front. 4 gigabytes of RAM was increased. Apple introduced their new A12 Bionic chip. Same sensors. The key iOS features for this particular year, iOS 12.0 to 12.1, screen time was the new feature. Siri shortcuts, group FaceTime, password management, and Memoji. They had Animoji, then they introduced Memojis. Next up, iPhone 11 Pro, Pro Max, September 20th, 2019. This is when we got, I think, the new camera array that we kind of have now, that triple camera. Same display. Triple cameras was 12 megapixels, 21 by 60. Same memory. Processor was the A13 Bionic. New Siri sensor. The key iOS features at that time, iOS 13.0 to 13.3. Finally got dark mode, revamped Maps app, Siri upgrades, which really is not an upgrade, Smart Photos app, Health app. Now we're going to start getting into kind of the iterations of what we kind of see today, right? You have the iPhone 12 and the Pros, November 13, 2020. Display changed, 6.1 inch, let's see, 1170 by 2532 pixels, Retina XDR OLED. is what they were referring that to. Cameras, same kind of camera array, 12 megapixels. The memory was upgraded to 6 gigabytes of RAM. Then we had the new A14 Bionic chip. The key iOS features at that time, iOS 14.0 to 14.8, because that particular year there was some glitchiness to iOS that year, I remember. Home screen redesign, compact phone calls, app clips, which I really never use app clips. Translate app tracking transparency. iPhone 13 Pro, same display, same camera, same memory, processor, new processor, A15 Bionic, same sensors. The key features, iOS 15, 15.1 to 15.2, focus mode, FaceTime, SharePlay, Spotlight, the ID cards in the wallet, which a lot of states don't have. In my current state we do, which is awesome. Native app redesign. This brings us to iPhone 14 and 14 Pro rumors. All we have at the moment are speculations based on schematics and screen hardware that's been leaked. Now, based on this information, the biggest change is the notch removal. It appears that Apple may move to a camera cutout design to the front panel. We will definitely get upgraded cameras, and those rumors suggest 48 megapixels, which is going to be huge. We should see an increase in RAM from 6 to 8 if you go through the history of each phone. Now, the chip situation will be a hot topic. It's rumored that Apple will use the same A15 Bionic chip for the regular 14 models and a new A16 Bionic chip for the Pro models. This will be the first time that Apple has released a new phone with the previous iPhone's chip. This could be due to the chip shortage, right? It's been going around automobiles, electronic devices. So that could be why Apple is making this move, if the rumors are true. Or it could be a new marketing strategy to get consumers to purchase the Pro models instead of the regular iPhone 14. I'm not so sure about that. Apple, they usually don't do that. There's really not a huge change in the two chips when you look at performance, especially in an iPhone. So I think the reason why they would use an older chip in a new phone, it has to be due to the chip shortage. It's going to be interesting how Apple will justify the price of the 14. Will it be the same price as the 13 models, or will they include a feature that will separate the devices from the 13 and therefore justify an increase in price? But I digress. We could see a new sensor that we haven't had a new sensor in the past 3 years if you look at the history of each phone. Now, rumors suggest that Apple will get rid of the mini model and move to a new regular 14 Max model, right? Get rid of the 13 mini, and now you have a new Max regular iPhone 14. So it'll look like this. You got, well, I'm sure you've seen all the rumors. So you'll have a 6.1 inch 14, regular 14, 6.7 inch regular 14 Max. Then the Pro models, you have the 6.1 inch 14 Pro and the 6.7 inch 14 Pro Max. The 6.7 inch 14 regular iPhone 14, that's gonna sell big time. Going back to my question, I imagine the iPhone 14 will look similar to the 13 with minor changes to the dimensions. The camera bump will be ridiculous. The new hole punch cutout will be a nice change. I know a lot of people don't like it, but the hole punch cutout does not bother me. It's gonna get us closer to an all-screen design. Well, that's it for this video, everyone. I hope I provided some insight on where Apple will go next as it relates to the iPhone. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think Apple's next iPhone 14 will look like, what features, what iOS features you're looking forward to. All I want in iOS is always on display, please. That's all. I don't care about anything else. Everything else works great. I just want always on display. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Take care, everyone. Peace.